When we first think of conformity, the first thing that may come to our minds is a group of religious fanatics or people who blindly obey governmental laws without ever thinking about them, accepting whatever ideology or law which comes their way and think that it is the best, and we should always adhere to them, no matter how unjust or destructive they may be. We should keep in mind that there are unjust laws as there are unjust men. But what if I told you there is another kind of conformity? A kind which is so subtle and so well masked and even controversial that many do not see it as a form of conformity. Not only they do not see it as conformity, but they see it as the opposite of conformity. This is what the general call the anti-conformist. I am talking about the unaware rebels, the insurgents, the so-called freedom fighters. But let's pause for a moment and think. Can we call anyone who disobeys something or someone a non-conformist? Or is this just another mask for conformity? Let's think about some teenagers and young people for a moment. They may feel that there are serious problems in our world, like religious dogma or capitalism. But how do they respond to these problems? Well, I've seen many of them do graffiti on public property or listen to songs which just basically swear all the time, and the melody is full of rage and anger and hate. Or even worse, they show their opposition by doing multiple surgeries, and of course this will never lead them to feel adequate or enough, so they keep doing weird and harmful stuff to themselves. Or let's refer to the public movements. Look at serious ideologies like Marxism and communism, which basically mean we should not have social classes and everyone should be treated equally and should be paid equally. This simplistic ideology came to be because workers were working very hard and yet were barely living from hand to mouth. So communism or Marxism was a kind of backlash against this horrific way of living. But today we clearly know that Marxism has a lot of problems too. The biggest one is that it makes no sense at all. We need social classes in society and we need bosses and leaders to get things done. And if everyone gets paid equally, then why should anyone hone their skills or work harder? As you see, they are just getting out of the frying pan into the fire, or they are opposing one form of conformity and supporting another. This is their way out of conformity, but aren't they doing the exact thing that hundreds or millions of teenagers or rebels, weird cults, or whatever so-called non-conformists do? They are challenging the ways things are by behaving in a frantic and mindless way and finding another toxic group so they can conform to their ways. Not only they do not solve any problems, but they create a whole bunch of new ones. And when we look at the big picture, these so-called non-conformists are not unique individuals, and they are just behaving like sheep in a herd. They are just more of the same. So how can we truly escape the trap of conformity? I can explain this myself, but Adrian Brody in the film Detachment says it all.
What does that mean?
To take something in.
Okay, excellent. To absorb. Anyone?
Everywhere, all the time.
So what is ubiquitous assimilation.
Always absorbing everything everywhere all the time.
Well done, George. How are you to imagine anything if the images are always provided for you? Who here read 1984 last year? Good. Anyone? Meredith?
Having two opposing beliefs at once, and believing that both are true.
Excellent, Meredith.
Why do you always suck his dick, you fucking kiss ass?
To deliberately believe in lies while knowing they're false. Examples of this in everyday life. Oh, I need to be pretty to be happy. I need surgery to be pretty. I need to be thin, famous, fashionable. Our young men today are being told that women are whores, bitches, things to be screwed, beaten, shit on, and shamed. This is a marketing holocaust. 24 hours a day, for the rest of our lives, the powers that be are hard at work, dumbing us to death. So, to defend ourselves and fight against assimilating this dullness into our thought processes, we must learn to read, to stimulate our own imaginations, to cultivate our own consciousness, our own belief systems. We all need these skills to defend, to preserve our own minds.
We have to read and think independently to preserve our own minds. But again, life is complicated, and out of various ideologies and belief systems, how can we know which ones to use and which ones to discard? My answer is simple. Every time you are presented with a new idea, ask yourself 3 questions. Will this idea help me to understand and love myself deeply so I can understand and love others? Does this idea help mankind to find peace and common ground among themselves, or will it lead to separation and conflict? Will this belief or philosophy bear actual fruit, or is it hollow and cannot walk the talk? If it does not have these qualities to it, I suggest you let it go so you can be a true nonconformist. At the end of this video, I want to say that although I presented conformity as something negative, of course I believe that a lot of social laws are correct, and millions of sacrifices had to be made and blood had to be shed for them to be what they are. And there is also wisdom in ancient texts. I just wanted to encourage individuality and point out that if people do not read and think and contemplate for themselves, no matter what route they may take, they can fall into various traps and pitfalls in life. And I want to end this video by citing 2 beautiful quotes. I am neither for conformity nor non-conformity. I am for individuality. If one's individuality is in effect non-conformity, then so be it. But basically, one's individuality consists of conformity to one's self. Don't try to be different, just be good. To be good is different enough. Like always, thanks for your time and goodbye.